I think the question is agreed by majority of each of the two groups of members present. I declare the motion passed.
研究附屬法例嘅報告。
Motion to take note of a report of the House Committee on Consideration of Subsidiary Legislation and Other Instruments. Dr. Starry LEE will move a motion under Rule 49E(9) of the Rules of Procedure to take note of 4 items of subsidiary legislation relating to road traffic and report 3/2025 of the House Committee laid on the table of the Council. I'll first call upon Dr. Starry LEE to speak and move the motion. Then I'll call upon the Chairman of the Subcommittee of the Subsidiary Legislation, Mr. Gary John, to speak. Thereafter, I will call upon other members to speak. Finally, I will call upon the public officer to speak when the debate will come to a close and the motion will not be put to vote. Members who wish to speak, please press the request to speak button. I now call upon Dr. Starry LEE to speak and move the motion. President, in my capacity as the Chairman of the House Committee, I, in accordance with Rule 49E(2) of the Rules of Procedure, move the motion as printed on the agenda for the purpose of enabling members to have a debate on the 4 pieces of subsidiary legislation relating to road traffic in the report on subsidiary legislation gazetted on the 17th of January 2025. I so submit. I now propose a question to you that Dr. Starry LEE's motion be passed. Mr. Gary John. President, in my capacity as the Chairman of the Subcommittee on 4 pieces of subsidiary legislation relating to road traffic, I'd like to report on the highlights of the Subcommittee's deliberation. The 4 amendment regulations contain 8 specific proposals, the main objectives of which are to enhance road safety and promote the application of new car technologies in Hong Kong. The Subcommittee held 3 meetings and invited written submissions from the public. The Subcommittee supports the amendment regulations and has raised a number of concerns. One of the concerns is about the government's proposal to require vehicles manufactured from the 1st of January 2026 onwards to be equipped with a standardized acoustic vehicle alerting system. There's a proposal that an amendment should be moved so that the system could meet the specified specifications and the relevant owners have to keep the system on after a specified date. The administration advised that in view of the fact that the old system cannot fully meet the standard under the new system, however, it undertook to launch publicity and education, including issuing letters to remind some 3,600 EV owners equipped with the old system to keep the system on. In addition, in relation to the new requirement about the remote parking system, members were generally concerned about the liability of drivers when there are accidents while using the remote parking system and whether they would be compensated by insurance. The administration advised that while the driver may be outside the vehicle when parking remotely, however, the driver would still be in full control of the vehicle. It is therefore proposed that anyone using a remote parking system should assume the responsibility of a driver under the existing legislation and be held liable for the traffic accident concerned. As regards insurance coverage, the administration reached a consensus with the insurance sector to underwrite the system approved by the Commissioner for Transport. In the course of deliberation, the subcommittee made a number of recommendations. It urged the government to follow up in future on issues, for example, in relation to the child restraint devices. The administration undertook to explore with taxi fleet operators about the possibility of installing child restraint devices and to follow up on other measures to enhance road safety. The subcommittee and the administration have not proposed any other amendments to the 4 amendment regulations. President, here are my personal views. Whenever there is a global trend or new products or new technologies, Hong Kong's users are often the first batch of users using this technology or devices. This seems to be a recognition to the new products. A lot of people, they want to explore the new products. In relation to new car technologies, we do not have the advantages. However, oftentimes we have to wait for 6 months or a year for the products or technologies to be used in Hong Kong. For some cars, even if they are equipped with new technologies, when they come to Hong Kong, these technologies devices have to be removed. IoT technology as well as automated driving. These kind of technologies have changed our lives. The amendment regulations are just catching up with the development of the technologies. I hope that the administration will further remove the relevant restrictions and barriers. There are ways to promote smart mobility. For example, we can make use of the cruise terminal as well as the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge and the loop. We should introduce a high-end driving system, and we should promote automated or amendless driving in Hong Kong to catch up with the trend. Thank you. I so submit. Mr. Chen Xiuhong, I speak in support of the 4 pieces of subsidiary legislations, which propose 8 specific proposals to enhance road safety and promote the application of new car technologies. This will help us meet international standards and apply the new technologies in Hong Kong. As a member of the subcommittee, at the deliberation stage, I expressed concern about the use of about the liability of drivers when there are no children restraint devices and when there are no acoustic vehicle alerting system. Some people are concerned about the use of children restraint devices in cars. However, at the same time, the administration does not require buses or minibuses or other types of public transport to be equipped with such devices. I wonder if the government has further plans to extend this requirement to other types of public transport other than private cars. I know that there are certain challenges that the government encounters. I hope that when licensing new vehicles, the government would impose such requirements. There are different types of devices, like one that can help adjust the seat belt for children and so on, and the prices differ or vary. I wonder if the Customs and Excise Department can identify whether there are problems to these devices and how consumers can pick the right child restraining devices. If there are problems with these devices, it could have huge implications. I hope the government can help consumers identify which type of child restraining devices meet the requirements. I understand that under Cap 374, in relation to the safety or use of seat belts, there are no certain national standards. But for child restraining devices, there are national standards to it. There differentiation between the two sets of standards. I hope the national standards could be incorporated into all kinds of devices under Cap 374. In relation to the use of remote control parking, I'm concerned about the who will be held liable when there are problems to the system. In the mainland, there were cars that lost control because of the remote control parking system. There were cars that went circling in the car park because of the system. I'm concerned when there are accidents, who would be held liable? Will the operator of the system be held liable, or will people be covered by insurance? And also, will the drivers be held liable when there are malfunction of the system? Maybe the operator or the manufacturer should be held liable. From the road safety perspective, I support the other amendment regulations, including the ones concerning the acoustic vehicle alerting system. Sometimes in the past, vehicles were asked to switch off the alerting system. This amendment only applies to vehicles manufactured after the 1st of January 2026, including vehicles, EVs, manufactured after the date. I hope the government would think about whether this will cause nuisance to drivers. I'm also concerned about Cap 374G, Section 53, Bracket 1, about child restraining devices as well as insurance problem. I hope there could be educational kit or information kit from the government to educate the public about the new requirements. Technology developed by leaps and bounds. I hope the government can review the legislations from time to time so that we can catch up with the new standards and new technologies. The 4 pieces of subsidiary legislation concerns 8 different proposals and concerns different types of devices, including CRDs, child restraining devices. I hope the government could educate the public on this so that they won't breach the law inadvertently. Thank you.
Mr. Tony Tang. Thank you, President. I made a request to the Chair Lady of the House Committee to discuss these 4 pieces of subsidiary legislation, especially for subsidiary legislation in relation to autonomous parking. I support the legislative amendments, and I think more should be done by the administration. Hong Kong is densely populated, roads are narrow. There are many people, there are much footfall on the roads in Hong Kong. Many drivers find it difficult to park their vehicles owing to limited space. Some drivers find it difficult to get out of the vehicle after parking. Some also find it difficult to getting back to the vehicle. Some car parks are very small. Some vehicles are parked against the wall very close. Some drivers park the vehicles, but then they find it difficult to get out of the vehicle. To senior citizens who have physical difficulties moving around, it would be difficult for them to get out of the vehicle. As early as in 2021, I prepared a video clip to elaborate on this problem. I requested that the government introduced autonomous parking technologies, which were already quite mature back then. After 4 years' time, it is only being implemented right now. Drivers are not allowed to move away from the vehicle. Drivers need to stay within the visible range of the vehicle when moving too slow. We are still a long way away from achieving the target of a smart mobility city. Last week in the Finance Committee, we discussed smart traffic light system as well as electronic traffic enforcement system and smart meters. We also discussed new energy vehicles. The administration is taking forward these initiatives at a snail's pace. Many drivers, including me, are let down by the administration. These are exactly why we are in the Council discussing this. The Transport Department is very slow in approving new technologies in relation to driving. They oftentimes use safety as the reason. They request manufacturers to submit documents and conduct tests. Manufacturers need to obtain safety certifications all around the world before these technologies can be piloted and tried in Hong Kong. These technologies have been probably tested overseas or in mainland China. The safety standard is up to par. The administration is simply going through motion. In the consideration in the committee, the administration only set a minimum requirement in relation to the brightness of the headlamps of vehicles. Oftentimes, drivers find that the headlamps of the oncoming vehicles are too bright, so much so that they are affected. But the administration didn't provide a direct response. I am greatly disappointed. I am dissatisfied. In the introduction of innovative technologies in the future, I believe the administration should enhance efficiency, speed, and so on. the government needs to be a facilitator as well. President, I so submit. Dr. Ben Chen. Thank you, President. The DAB supports these 4 pieces of subsidiary legislation. There were many concerns about CRD, child restraining devices, in subsidiary legislation for children above the age of 8 or those taller than 135 cm. Targeting these children, CRDs must be installed in vehicles. There is a whole raft of such devices in the market. In the scrutiny of the legislation, we were expecting that the government would provide more guidelines. Otherwise, we or drivers may find it difficult to choose suitable and appropriate devices. However, these devices are only requested in private cars. There is no requirement in relation to other vehicles. As for how the safety of the passengers in other vehicles is protected, the industry needs to put their heads together in the future in relation to autonomous parking. A long time ago, we were requested to test using a remote device to park the vehicles outside the vehicle. But owing to legal constraints, we weren't able to put in place this practice. This technology could not be used in Hong Kong. When driver gets out of the vehicle, now drivers can park the vehicle in a remote manner. This is actually good to drivers who are not good at parking vehicles. In the scrutiny of the legislation, some friends of mine sent messages or sent videos to me. Well, I needed to stay out of the vehicle in order to use the autonomous driving device. What about when I'm inside a vehicle? Actually, this works as well. You can use the autonomous parking equipment or technology while the driver is still inside the vehicle. It is not true that drivers must stay out of the vehicle in order to use the autonomous driving or autonomous parking technology. EVs are quieter. To visually impaired and to the hearing impaired, there are risks that they might be hurt. So it is important to have alerts and sounds. Alerts should be mild in order not to cause any nuisance to the community. Well, I thank Mr. Tony Tse for enabling us to stand in the council and talk about this issue. The popularization of EVs is developing very fast. There are quite many functions of EVs that could not be used in Hong Kong. When there is one more requirement, then there is one less choice. If Hong Kong imposes extra restrictions, but these restrictions are not very common in other jurisdictions, then drivers in Hong Kong will have fewer choices. Hong Kong is a small market. No manufacturers will develop a car type that is exclusive to Hong Kong. I hope that in the future we'll conduct reviews for parallel imported EVs. When they are not directly imported into Hong Kong, every single EV must be certified and tested by the administration, hence the long queue for certification and testing. In relation to taxis, we are concerned about the testing of taxis. The administration keeps the gate very rigorously, hence the long wait and long queue. It is good that we have a requirement to safeguard the safety level, but we also need to draw reference from the market. We need to take into account the safety level and the demand and supply in these regions. Are we being too strict? So some EVs weren't imported into Hong Kong as a result. We need to strike a balance and reach a consensus. Thank you. Ms. Nixie Lam. Thank you, President. I speak in support of the 4 pieces of subsidiary legislation. It is in relation to construction and maintenance of vehicles, safety equipment, traffic control, and expressway. Different safety measures are involved. As a parent myself, I'm concerned about CRD, child restraining devices. The legislative intent is to heighten the safety awareness among Hong Kong people. Well, parents only hold their babies in their arms, and that is actually not a good idea. That is very dangerous in the event of traffic accidents. And we are targeting children aged below 8 and those below the height of 1.35 meters. They will have to be using protective vests as well as CRD. In the EU, starting from 2013, CECR 129 was implemented, requiring children below the height of 1.45 meters. There's a difference of 10 meters comparing with the requirement in Hong Kong. The safety standard of R129 has to be complied with. There will have to a test of side test needs to be implemented. R24 and R16 standards have to be complied with. The impact test has not been passed. While we have already passed this version of the impact test, we are closely aligned with the world. We need to consider whether we need to relax the height restriction to 1.45 meters. For R44 and R16, in the next stage, do we need to cancel these requirements and comply with the impact test in relation to R129, in relation to safety seats and buckles? As long as they are installed, then it is already within the law. Children need to be as tall as 1.45 meters. And I think there is no sufficient protection for children. At this next step, the administration should step up publicity, telling the public what kind of devices are suitable children of a certain age. Don't make the public think that as long as they have a buckle, then it is sufficiently safe for children. We need to do more in order to protect children. In relation to law enforcement, how will it be done in the future? The administration needs to do more on this front. So in amending legislation and upon the passage of the subsidiary legislation, we need to be fully prepared so that the legislation will achieve the intended effect. Thank you.
Mr. Frankie Yig, President. The government proposed the amendment to the 4 pieces of subsidiary legislation. It is to enhance road safety as well as to catch up with the latest development of technologies. Our party supports the amendment. We also have to go towards the direction of protecting the environment, as at the end of last year, there are about 110,000 EVs in Hong Kong, accounting for about 12% of all cars in Hong Kong. EVs are more environmentally friendly and they are quieter compared to engine-propelled vehicles. For the people with hearing impairments, these EVs, according to the EU, when they are running in low speed, they have to emit at least 50 decibel of sound. And this is to enhance road safety, so our party supports the amendment. For car importers, the requirement may restrain the number of cars that they will sell. Most of the vehicles are equipped with the acoustic vehicle alerting system. It's just that without the requirement, a lot of the system has been inactivated or switched off. Indeed, a lot of the cars still have not been equipped with the acoustic alerting system. It is worried that the requirement might pose impact. Indeed, there is a level of difficulty for cars to be equipped with this acoustic alerting system. That's why only cars manufactured after the 1st of January 2026 have to be equipped with this alerting system, and these EVs have to be fitted with the alerting system that meets the international standards, and it's only then that these EVs can be issued with a license by the government, and this may alleviate the concerns of manufacturers. According to the existing legislation, EVs on expressways, they have to apply for a permit, and this permit hinders taxi fleet or taxi drivers to update their vehicles. Therefore, the government is extending the types of EVs to be used on expressways, including minibuses and trucks. We welcome this requirement. In relation to EVs to be equipped with overheight warning system for vehicles with extendable aerial structures, this will prevent accidents involving cranes. Back in 2022, I talked to relevant members of the sector. Concerning safety issues, members of the sector in general support this requirement. In relation to the other warning system to be equipped, the sector has no particular views or comments. They are concerned whether there is enough time for them to complete the installation. This is because there is a lack of manpower in the sector. Also, to comply with the EPD's policy and scheme to eliminate diesel fuel vehicles, well, the relevant vehicles have to comply with the requirements, and they have to complete the installation of the overheight warning systems for 3,700 and 3,600 vehicles respectively in last September and this September. But within a short period of time, all these vehicles have to be equipped with overheight warning system, and this is too short a period for the sector. I hope the government can make relevant arrangements if the sector cannot meet the requirement by the deadline. A lot of the accidents are caused by human errors. That's why I think the government should help train up the relevant personnel. Lastly, on the use of child restraining devices in private cars, we support the requirement. As to whether this requirement should be extended to other public transport, I think the government should talk to the relevant public transport operators and not to act recklessly. Thank you. Mr. Duncan Chu, I speak in support of Dr. Starry Lee's motion. I also support that the subsidiary legislation will take effect starting from the 1st of March. I've been calling for the relevant amendments together with other drivers so that more EVs or technologies can be used in Hong Kong. Back in 2022, I raised a written question about the government allowing cars to use visual display units, and I also asked about the relevant technologies to be used in cars in Hong Kong. And in the end, the government introduced the 4 subsidiary legislations to the LegCo. This includes the requirement concerning the visual display units as well as camera monitor systems, and also the remote parking system will be able to be used by drivers. After I raised the written reply, a group with some 300 people, they are concerned about the amendments. They have been asking me when the requirements will start to take effect, and it's been 2 years now, and a lot of drivers have switched to EVs already. I'm glad that the government has taken on board our views. Concerning the visual display units, according to Cap 374A, if any visual display units are installed in a way that could be easily removed, then Cap 374A would not apply to that particular type of visual display units. Also, mobile phones as well as tablets would not be regulated under the amendment. While the government will have to amend the legislations anyway, why not incorporate the amendment in one go? A lot of drivers, they incorporate tablets as well as mobile phones in their cars as a display unit or display device in their cars. Why not cover these devices in this amendment so that tablets as well as mobile phones could be included? I hope the government can think about this seriously. In relation to the use of remote car parking function by drivers, the new requirement would apply to EV drivers. According to the government, when the government review the construction of vehicles and the relevant legislations, it will have to change the wording as well. A lot of the wording used in the existing legislations cannot catch up with the technology, including this time around the word motor engine is used. So to popularize the use of EVs, I hope the government can enhance the legislations and review the relevant legislations and amend all the outdated provisions. Technologies developed by leaps and bounds. We see new types of cars or EVs or technologies every day. If our laws cannot catch up with the development of technologies, how can we be an INT center? I think there should be a quicker way for the government to amend the legislations.
Does any other member wish to speak? If not, I call upon the Secretary for Transport and Logistics to speak. President, first of all, I thank Dr. Starry LEE for moving the motion on the 4 items of subsidiary legislation relating to road traffic under Rule 49E(2) of the Rules of Procedure. I've been listening to the comments of members. I thank members for their comments. Before I reply to them, I would also like to thank the subcommittee chairperson, Mr. Gary Zhang, as well as members in the subcommittee. They've given us comments as well as their support. Regarding the amendment of the subsidiary legislation, as a number of members have mentioned, we would like to make use of the amendment exercise to enhance road safety, enhance design and construction standard of vehicles, and to allow the use of more vehicle technologies in Hong Kong. We would also like to create a safer and more convenient road environment for road users. I have listened to members' concerns and comments. Let me summarize them. First, those on smart mobilities. Dr. Gary Zhang, Duncan Chiu, and a number of members have spoken on smart mobility, e-vehicles, as well as innovation technologies. The pace of Hong Kong should move much faster to meet the needs of the trade. The second area is about child restraining devices. Ms. Nixie Lam and Mr. Ben Chen talked about safety. They are concerned that the new requirements may cause problems for users, including parents. They need to know about the new requirements and standard. The third area is pointed out by Mr. Tony Tse. The specifications and standards of headlamps. I talked about this issue from the perspective of the law. And member talked about adoption of new technologies, say for example, e-vehicles, installations inside the car to facilitate operation by drivers. The trade has expressed concerns. When we do something that the community asks for, we take into account the concerns of the trade. When it comes to smart mobility and autonomous driving, a number of members have mentioned this to me. They asked if there are ways to expedite the process to catch up with the times. The legislative amendment is a step forward, as mentioned by Mr. Gary Zhang. In the past 2 years or so, there has been a lot of new technologies entering the market. The government needs to be the gatekeeper on road safety. Nobody will doubt that. But as to how we can simplify procedures and remove barriers for the use of new technologies, I think there is room for us to improve. There are technical amendments in this exercise. We have moved forward. For child restraining devices, I would like to say that we understand that sufficient time should be given to users as well as parents to make preparations. So we will provide clearer guidance in this regard. We want users to be fully prepared. We will step up publicity and education. In relation to the amendment on child restraining devices, we propose that it will be effective on the 1st of November. In the meantime, we will step up publicity as well as user education. There is also a mention on headlights. I would like to reply to Mr. Tong Li Jie. I have carefully read the part pertaining to the concern in the House Committee report. There are a lot of vehicles using LED headlights to replace traditional filament headlights. With the prevalent use of LED headlights, there is a maximum and minimum luminance requirements under the law. For traditional filament headlamps, there is just a minimum luminance, but international standards sets our maximum luminance as well. I understand Mr. Jie's concern. They are on two areas. One is to ensure that the luminance will not affect the driver of the oncoming vehicle. Two, what we can do in terms of publicity and education for the new requirement. I myself and the Transport Department have undertaken to step up our efforts. The Transport Department will promulgate a comprehensive administrative guidelines. Whether it is LED or traditional filament headlamps, maximum and minimum requirements under international standards will be set out. We will step up publicity and education. We'll talk to the police. The police will step up publicity and enforcement. Apart from the technical standards and requirements of headlamps, there is another issue. The police has issued more than 2,000 fixed penalty tickets every year. They are about cases of excessively bright headlamps or the use of high beams. In some cases, the angle of the lower beams is changed. As a result, the angle is wider and the driver of the oncoming vehicle is affected. Every year, in vehicle examinations, this area will be looked into. There will be stepping up of publicity enforcement. In addition, there is the promulgation of the administrative guidance. I think this will address Mr. Tong Li Jie's concern. I turn back to the child restraining devices. A member asked whether in addition to private cars, the provision of the devices should be required on other modes of transport. We'll continue to talk to the trade. We'll draw reference from overseas experience. Information shows that, say, in Singapore, there is an exemption of such provision on taxis and buses. In the UK and in Australia, there is a similar exemption. We will keep an open mind. We'll talk to the trade. We will talk to the LegCo. In relation to the standard of seat belts, safety standard of seat belts, there will be further amendment to subsidiary legislation. They will be introduced within this legislative year. So there will be improvements in terms of safety standards of seat belts. Mr. Duncan Chiu talked about the use of technology. He also mentioned the use of tablets and mobile phones in car. There is consensus in society. We will make a proposal within this year. It's not done this time among the technical amendments. We want to give more time to the trade. We want to give ourselves more time to address the concerns of the trade. In addition, these technical amendments have been waited for a long time by the trade. That's why we want to do it first. But within this legislative year, we will make proposals to make amendments in the use of mobile phones and tablets in car. Members have also expressed concerns about safety. I would like to give you some heads up. In addition to the two items I've just mentioned, there is also a requirement within this legislative year to mandate the use of helmets on bicycles. So we advocate smart mobility, safe driving, the aspirations of the trade, concerns of the trade. We want to do all these things in tandem. We want to improve efficiency, and we want to get the support of the legislature. In accordance with Rule 49E(9) of the Rules of Procedure, I will not put any question on the motion. The meeting is adjourned. We will resume on the 19th of February next Wednesday.